Hey gang, Charm the Good Dog, and as that it's New Year's Eve, tomorrow will be New Year's Day, start of the new year. We all know we try and get some new stuff happening, get some new habits rolling, hopefully. Try and turn things around, try and jettison stuff that's not working, try and bring on board things that are. I'm hoping that I can share a really brief, succinct, fingers crossed, 10-minute little video here with you that might be able to give you a jump start and help you jump into this new year in the right way. So let's see what I can whip up, and ready, let's roll. All right, gang, so we're gonna go through 1 through 10. This is gonna be backwards, Closing the Gap. It's my book. Just look at it in a mirror. This isn't to sell the book, but it's based off of the principles in the book that I find have been the most helpful for me and tend to be the most universally applied in a very positive fashion with the most results kind of stuff. So let's jump into it. Number 1 in the book and number 1 in my beliefs is influences, or are influences. You become what you surround yourself with. Famous saying by Jim Rohn, we become basically we become the 5 people that we spend the most time with, right? So influences are incredibly powerful components that, to me, start the entire thrust of where you start moving to. It's not enough to just say, I want to take action. It's not enough to just say, I want to achieve this goal. It's not enough to just say, I want to, whatever it might be. Before you can get to that point of making decisions, especially smart decisions, you need to fill your brain with the right stuff so you can then make empowered, enlightened, smart, leveraged, awesome decisions. So having the right influences in your life are going to have a huge impact on that. And if you don't have the right influences, they're going to pull you in the other direction. So you get to make the choice. Do you wake up every day and make sure you fill your head with something that moves you forward? Or do you wake up every day and fill your head with something that moves you backwards or keeps you just neutral? So influences, guys, has been the most impactful thing. That's why it's the number 1 chapter in the book that's changed everything for me. It really laid the groundwork, it laid the foundation, it started everything that allowed me to be able to make the transitions and the changes, the decisions, the action steps, everything. Everything stems from your influences. So, to start off this new year, let's take a really honest, transparent, strip the Band-Aid off, look at your influences and see what you got cooking. Chances are there's people in your life or things that you're exposing yourself to over and over again that aren't moving you in the right direction, that aren't serving you. So influences, number 1 launching point for everything else that comes after it. You gotta have the right stuff in here in order for everything else to happen. So I hope that makes sense. Let's take responsibility and charge for our influences, and that leads us to the next chapter. Okay, gang, chapter number 2. This is 100% responsibility. So 100% responsibility is out of all of these, maybe one of the trickiest ones for people to kind of wrap their heads around, because a lot of people are very attached to their stories. They're very attached to things that have transpired, negative things, uncomfortable things, unhealthy things. And then they hold on to those, and those things become their story, and they replay them over and over again for attention and for absolving them of responsibility to actually go out and make something great happen with their life. So 100% responsibility involves really reevaluating the stories that you tell yourself, the stories that you tell other people, and finally making the decision that you're going to own from here. Doesn't mean bad things haven't happened, because bad things have happened to all of us, varying degrees. Doesn't mean bad things haven't happened. But from this point on, what you choose to do with those things that have happened and what you choose to do with anything else that happens or anything else that comes your way is your fault. It is your responsibility. It is up to you. 100% responsibility is the game changer that puts you in the power position. Without taking 100% responsibility, you have zero goose egg power because you're a victim. Victims don't have power. Victims have things done to them. Victims just, the wind blows and they're affected by it. Conversely, if you take responsibility for it, responsibility for your life and for everything else, you make the decisions about what's going to go on no matter what has befallen you, no matter what challenges, obstacles, tribulations come your way. You just decide, I'm going to move through it and I'm going to use this stuff to make my life better. And you can only do that if you take 100% responsibility for your life. I can promise you that with all the influences in the world, all the great stuff, if you aren't ready to take responsibility for your life, and if you're blaming the government, your family, your friends, the economy, the government, I think I already said that, your neighborhood, your city, whatever. I mean, people will make extravagant, amazing lists. If you're blaming any of those things, you are going to lose. It's not any of the outside stuff's fault. It's the inside fault. It's yours. So when you take responsibility 100%, then you say, I don't care what's going on over there. I don't care what is going on out in that world. I don't care, not that you're blind to it, but you just decide, I'm going to find my way around it. I'm going to find my way over it, under it, through it. Whatever it's going to take, I'm going to take responsibility for it, which then puts you in the power mode, which then allows you to create whatever you want. Victims don't get to choose. People that take responsibility get to choose what they want to build and what they want to create in their life. I highly, highly, highly recommend that everybody takes an excruciatingly close look at the responsibility they take in their life and the little moments where they go, oh, this happened to me and that's why I do this, or this person, like what stories are you telling yourself over and over again? Dive deep, really evaluate, and if you can turn this one around, man, just between these two, just influences on 100% responsibility, you can change your life. All right, let's move on to number 3. Okay, gang, so let's move on to number 3. And number 3 is goal setting. Goal setting is one of those things that without it, you will absolutely not achieve your big, gigantic, enormous, amazing dreams, things you're capable of, things you can actually knock down and make happen. You will not achieve them without taking the time to figure them out, write them down, and have them logged somewhere where you can actually see them on a daily basis. So, you can have all these great influences. You can decide you're going to take 100% responsibility, but if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a map, if you don't have a game plan of like, this is where I'm headed, you're going to just flounder. You're just going to turn in circles. You're going to do stuff like, I'll do this activity, I'll do this activity, I'll try this, I'll try that. But what you're going to do is you're going to waste a ton of time because you're not focused. It's like a GPS that just like drives you in circles all the time, right? So the way that goal setting works is not some cosmic mumbo jumbo. It's a very tangible, very practical thing. And I'd like you to just think of it like this in a very simple fashion, that by setting goals, you set the filters of your brain, of your mind, of what you're looking for, what you want to achieve. And what ends up happening is when you set those filters, your brain starts looking for all the different pieces, all the different things, all the different elements, all the different relationships, all the different activities, all the different things you could do or should be looking for. Your brain goes and locks into it. And so all of a sudden you'll mysteriously start seeing all of these things showing up, and you'll be like, oh, that's really weird and cosmic. No, it's not really cosmic. You just set your filter on your brain to look for it. So now you're seeing it. Otherwise, what your brain does is filter it out. And that's the beauty of it. So you get to set your filter. Set your filter for what you want, and your brain will help you find it. And your brain will also help you filter out the stuff that's not helpful, the stuff that gets in the way, the stuff that lead you astray, the stuff that's not on track with what you're looking for. So you can have all the best stuff in the world as far as influences, taking responsibility, all that great stuff, which, like I said, will put you far ahead of the pack. But without the goal setting, you won't have that map to keep you focused and on target for where you want to go. You won't have your filter set, and you won't have the really tangible, super tangible, practical piece of the puzzle, which is basically being able to look down every day and say, this is what I'm trying to achieve. What steps do I need to take today to move me a little bit closer towards that? So I highly recommend that you write down a complete goal list, gigantic goal list, put it all on there, and then narrow it down. Some folks like 3 big, giant goals, some like 4 or 5. I have 6. I write 6 big goals at the top of my paper, and then I have my daily to-do list, and on that daily to-do list, I make sure that there's one small step, at least, that moves me towards that goal, or moves me towards, all 6 of my goals. So there has to be something that corresponds with each of those 6 goals that I'm trying to achieve. By doing that, what ends up happening is, over time, those goals get closer and closer, right? I start here, set my filters, goals over here, and I start taking little steps towards it. And I'm looking for the right stuff, and my brain's going, here's where you need to go, here's where you need to go, here's where you need to go, and I take the action steps and move towards it. Next thing you know, those goals start getting like this. So if you can think of goal setting as less of a kind of like cosmic thing, less of a kind of like mysterious thing, and as a very practical way of setting your brain's filter, your brain's GPS, and then also having a check-in that you can daily physically actually go to, and you write them down, you can make some pretty amazing stuff happen. So that's the value of goal setting. Most folks don't do it. Like, it's wild. Most folks don't do it. Most folks, because it's uncomfortable, will not tackle one of the most amazingly valuable pieces of success and living a great life. Most people won't do it because it's uncomfortable to have to go through the process. Please indulge me. Take the time, write down your goal list and put it into action and see what you get in this next year. All right? Okay, gang, so number 4 is R is habits. Okay, so we start putting these pieces in place, right? So we've got our influences going on, like good influences, leading us in a good direction, demanding more of us, setting the bar higher. We're taking 100% responsibility, no more victimhood. I got this, it's on me. 3, we've set goals. We've said, this is where I want to go. We've got our filters moving into place to make sure that we're seeing what we need to see, and we're checking in daily to make sure we're moving incrementally closer. Now, what else do we need? Well, we need a lot of stuff, but let's take it bite-sized little pieces. Habits. So the way that you create momentum and close that gap between those goals I was just talking about, right? So I was saying, like, so we start here and right? Is habitual behavior, which might sound weird or bad, but it's not. Habitual behavior, if it's positive and good and healthy, is really great stuff, right? So the habit of waking up every morning and studying books or videos that move you forward is really positive. The habit of reminding yourself and reflecting and taking, a few minutes to say, today I'm gonna own everything in my world. The habit of making sure that you write out your goals, your to-do list every day, and that you have literally that you design your day every single day, which takes time, might take 5, 10, 15 minutes, but you actually do that habit every single day. What ends up happening is you get this compounding effect of the habits doing their daily little stuff that closes that gap of whatever it is you're trying to close, right? So habits are kind of, I call them the glue in the book. Habits are the glue that take things from being like, I'll try this or I'll do this. Like anything you try or do or just throw at the wall for a little bit isn't going to amount to anything. The only way that any of this stuff works or creates any kind of real momentum and real progress is just through continuous daily, I don't want to say progress, continuous daily effort, continuous daily focus, continuous daily just like, boom, I'm on this, I'm doing this every single day. And that's the power of habits. Habits just basically make all the good stuff that you need to do something you do, right? So I think for a lot of folks, the thing that they struggle with New Year's resolutions and setting up their year or their life is they'll try something for a little while. They won't build it into their life in some kind of a habit form that really works for them. And then after a certain amount of time, it just kind of falls by the wayside. And then it might have been working for you. 3 years from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, you might have been sitting like at some amazing spot, some awesome place if you'd continued that habitual process of daily incremental awesomeness, right? But most folks, the habit is the hard part. The habit is so hard it's right? You wake up, you're like, today I just don't feel like it. I don't feel like working out. I don't feel like studying. I don't feel like taking responsibility. I don't feel like writing my goals, whatever it might be. And then your momentum starts to, I was going to say skyrocket, but it's the opposite of skyrocket. It starts to, dive bomb, right? So it just slowly starts dive bombing. And it's really sad because it's just simple stuff. Once again, guys, like everything I'm sharing with you guys is so damn simple. Habits, because they happen as far as like the progress, because it happens so slow, is hard to be always excruciatingly motivated by. And habits that take you in a negative direction, Darren Hardy's talked a lot about this in the compound effect, also move you slowly in that direction. So neither one gives you this big blast right away. So what ends up happening is it's very easy to be like, there's nothing wrong if I just let this go today. And there's nothing wrong if I just indulge in this crappy thing today. And of course, we're all gonna have mistakes. We're all gonna have times where we're not perfect and not doing things like just rocking and rolling. But habits are the glue if you can get them and find a way to install them into your life. That's why I do so many things repeatedly. That's why so much of my life is repetition, so much stuff that people would go, that's really boring, but it really works for me. Working out 7 days a week. I work out 7 days a week instead of 3 or 4 days because it keeps that habit locked in. I try and eat at a lot of the same places because I know that they're healthy food, so it helps keep me locked into the same thing. I study every single morning without fail because it keeps me locked in the same thing. Once these get built in so strongly, you don't have to muster the willpower to say, I've got to do this or I really need to do this. Sometimes you need willpower, but what will happen is the habits will give you more leverage. The habits will help push you through because you've done it so much. Your habits will be like, you're really not going to work out today? Like, you've been working out for 6 months straight. Like, come on, buddy, you can do this. And that will help get you over the hump. The other part is that habits stack. So I'm going to be really quick with this, but habits, you do something poorly early in the day or even later in the day, but let's look at it this way. Do something poorly early in the day. Eat poorly, make a bad choice with whatever it might be, makes the next bad choice very easy to do. You eat poorly, makes lunch, like eat a bad breakfast and not work out, makes eating a crappy lunch really easy, makes eating a crappy dinner and having extra dessert really easy. Conversely, you do the opposite. You start off with something healthy, you go to the gym, you do these kinds of positive physical habits, and then all of a sudden when lunch rolls around, you're like, yeah, that sounds good, but I'm gonna make this good choice. So a lot of people don't think about habit stacking, but they stack in positive and negative ways. They make things far easier to do if you're stacking them in the right way, and they make bad things far easier to do if you're stacking them in the wrong way. So think about habits in that fashion, that if you can find a way to build them into your life, they will give you leverage to get over the humps, and then think about the stacking. and how easy it is when you do the crappy stuff to continue to do the crappy stuff. All right? Habits, the glue. All right, so number 5, action. We're gonna go really quick through this one because I've been really, really long on the other ones. I'm trying to keep this kind of concise. All of this great stuff, influences, 100% responsibility, goal setting, habits, none of it mean anything without action. And I think that that's pretty darn clear for everybody. You don't get anything out of this life without the corresponding action. You don't get anywhere. You don't create anything. You don't build a great body. You don't build a great mind. You don't build a great business or a great family or a great relationship or great anything without action. Action should be the one that you don't even have to talk about because it should be so obvious, but action is really hard. So that's why it's in the book, and that's why I'm talking to you about it, because it's the part where like you can do a lot of very cerebral stuff. You can do a lot of studying and a lot of like mental stuff and yeah, I'm really working hard. Are you working hard or are you just up here, right? So there's the mental work and then there's the physical work. There's the actual activity that takes this and turns this stuff into tangible stuff. So this was once just an idea up here, right? I had to use all the other stuff I've talked about, but then I had to sit my behind down for several months and write this every single day, even when I didn't want to. I had to work, I had to put the action in, and now this exists because of action. So I hope you guys can see that all the greatest mind stuff in the world without the action means zero. So we're gonna leave this one at that. You guys know action. Without it, you get zero. Okay, so number 6 is mindset and attitude. I used both because I couldn't make a decision about which way I really wanted to articulate it. So we went with both. And they tie into each other. But whatever phrase or whatever terminology works best for you. Mindset and attitude. Basically, how do you view the world? What's your perspective on things? How do you view people? Do you view people as out to take advantage of you? Do you view the world as a negative place? Are you suspicious of others? Are you waiting for the other shoe to drop? Are you judgmental? Any number of negative attitudes or mindset spaces that are going to cause you to be a toxic human being because of your perceptions and views of the world and other human beings. Here's where the rubber meets the road. If you are of that mindset, what ends up happening is, I call this the magnet, and magnets can attract or they can repel. If you're in this negative state, this magnet of toxic crap is going to repel all the awesomeness in your life. Awesome people, awesome like romantic relationships, awesome friendships, awesome business opportunities, awesome opportunities across the board. Your mindset, being in a good space, being positive, not in like some mamby-pamby superficial way, but really looking for the best in people, looking for their gifts rather than their gaps, expecting the best out of every situation. Even if things go south, being in that headspace of like, yeah, this is gonna be great. We're gonna kick some butt. This is, I can make this happen. People are awesome. People are looking out for me. I mean, the whole mindset thing, even if sometimes people prove you wrong or do something that's negative or damaging, it doesn't matter. The mindset that you choose is the one that's going to either empower you or disempower you, attract good things to you or repel good things from you. So mindset and attitude had me by the stuff. And I was so negative that nobody amazing would have come into my life, because amazing people don't want anything to do with people that are not amazing and negative and toxic. Let's just be honest. So do some real self-analysis on your mindset and attitude. What are you putting out there? What are you putting out into the world? What are you putting on social media? What are you putting out at the water cooler? What are you putting out when you're talking to your friends? Are you complaining, you bitching, you moaning, all that stuff? Take a close look If you are not getting the right, awesome, amazing people and opportunities in your life, it's probably because of your attitude and your mindset. So let's take a close look at that and see if we can't give that a tweak and add a little sugar and spice to all the other stuff that we've been talking about and leverage all this great stuff so great people and great opportunities come into your life. Okay, guys, I think we're on, what are we on, number 6? No, I'm sorry, Seven. Okay, prosperity consciousness. Prosperity consciousness is one of those that typically gets a lot of pushback. A lot of people have a lot of issues. A lot of us have been programmed very early on from early experiences with our family, with school, with society, with media, to view reaching for bigger stuff as being egotistical, for wanting to do well as being greedy, for wanting to have money or resources or things like that, being a superficial human being, something of that nature. So prosperity consciousness also feeds into self-worth stuff, right? So a lot of us have been taught that we aren't worth much. And I don't mean financially, but we aren't worth much as human beings. We're damaged. We're, not smart. We're not gifted. We're not, whatever it might be. All of these self-worth messages end up culminating in your mind, determining what you go after, right? So we've got the messages about ourselves, and then we've got the messages about all this other stuff, external stuff that we might go after that are impacting what we go after. So if you feel crappy about yourself, you're not going to go after great stuff because you won't feel you deserve it. If you feel crappy about money or success or reaching for your highest potential, and you've been programmed by friends, family, church, school, media, whatever, that makes you a greedy, egotistical person, and that feels negative to you, which for most people it will, then you won't go after that either. So prosperity consciousness is this weird piece of the success puzzle that most people don't know anything about. Most people are highly unaware of it. And that's why it's one of my favorite topics to talk about. I'm gonna keep it short here, but I really would love you guys to do a little critical thinking about, how do I feel about myself? Do I feel deserving of the most love and great resources and living a fantastic life, like the biggest dreams? And what was some of my early programming as far as money, people with money, wealthy people? Do some digging around and see, oh yeah, I was, my family really looked down on folks like this, or, whatever. Maybe that's not your experience, but for many people, it is. And so whatever you feel crappy about yourself or any of this external stuff, you won't go after if you feel crappy about it. You have to change your perspective about you and about creating resources and going after big life and potential and all this if you want to actually have a shot at making it happen. So that's prosperity consciousness. Okay, gang, so number 8, because I can't tell if we're reversed or not. So number 8 is embracing failure. You could just call it failure, but I like embracing failure because it has a different feel to it. So failure is a terrifying thing for most of us. We've been programmed to avoid it at all costs. We've been programmed to associate it with our value, with our worth. If we make mistakes, if we fail, most of us have been conditioned to view that as connected to our own personal value. The problem is that failure is how we best learn. So failure, going out, trying things, exploring, experimenting, taking chances, risking, not recklessly and crazy, but taking chances, risking in a reasonable fashion, that's actually how you go out and you learn how to navigate the world, whether it's relationships, whether it's business, whether it's finances, whether it's creating something that you want to create, taking a chance on something, whatever it is, you're going to fail, right? And if you can wrap your head around the idea of failure being not something that is a notch against you, that it doesn't mean that you are less worthwhile or that you are a mistake or you've effed up, but instead look at it as feedback, as something that's giving you information about how next time to do something that you care about in a more valuable, successful fashion, then failure becomes a very different thing. So I know for me personally, failure was a real challenging aspect, something I've been really programmed with to avoid, and that if I did fail, then it was definitely connected to my own personal value. And so that made me like, ooh, I don't want to take any chances on this, or this, which keeps everything in your life very small. So what I'd like you guys to try and think about is think about failure in a different fashion. Think about failure as being a teacher. Think about failure. Don't do dumb things. Sorry, I got some kind of early morning smoothie in my teeth. Think about it as a teacher. Think about it as something that helps you grow, expand, understand you, life, people, business, finance, whatever it is that you're like, all the multitude, the multifacets of life that you can be indulging in and trying and being challenged by. If you can think of it as a teacher that will give you great feedback, because when you mess up, it hurts. Nothing will get your attention like some good old failure. And as soon as that happens, then you're like, how do I fix that? How do I make it better? How can that not be a good thing, right? So you have to understand you're not going to dodge failure. You're not a superhuman with superpowers that's able to not have to learn. We all have to learn, and the way we learn is by failing. So now, do we want to fail at catastrophic levels? No, but we do have to be willing to go out, take chances, take risks, and fail so we can learn and so we can better succeed in the future. I'd love, and highly encourage you guys to take a different look, a different view, a different perspective on failure and start taking more chances, taking more risks, and understanding it's only going to make you better. All right? Okay, gang, so number 9 is constant growth. So, and that might sound like constant growth, but constant growth is kind of the mindset, and it's the glue in its own kind of way, as far as like pushing you every single day to want to improve all of these things that we've already talked about. So constant growth is about closing this gap, right? And that's a big part of what I talk about in the book is you're here, and here's what you want to get to, and you close that gap through better skills, better understanding, right? Better tools, mental tools, physical tools, relationships, opportunities, all the stuff. They all get closed by constant growth, by getting better than you were yesterday, by being willing to fail, by doing the work with your influences, by working hard on your 100% responsibility, by putting those goals, like down every day, by your habits, by evaluating your prosperity consciousness. All of these things fold into continuous growth, right? So if you can get into a mindset of joyfully being incredibly excited about the process of growth, like it's maybe my most joyful, fun, exciting thing there is. And that might sound funky, but out of all the things that I do that give me pleasure, it's probably my number one. And that is just expanding this, getting this better, getting this better, getting this better, getting this better, and getting other skills better as well. But really getting the mindset better so I can go out and implement and put all these other pieces together so I can create a life that I'm truly proud of, a life that is of contribution, a life that is of more value to other people, a life that I can be proud, right? I might have already said that, but you can never say a life that you're proud of too many times. So constant learning, constant growth, constant pushing, constant like closing that gap, it's pushing. Life's like, no, you don't need to do this. No, like you've got all this other stuff. And you're like, no. I want to close this stuff. So you get there through constant growth, constant studying, constant work to become better than you were yesterday. If you can get into that mindset and that becomes your default space, that I'm just looking to grow, I'm looking to get better, I'm looking to improve my skills, you will kick so much ass in this world, it will blow your mind. So that's constant growth. Okay, gang, so we've got to the end. We're at number 10, and this is persistence. And persistence, like, it's one of those, I don't want to say it's cliche, but obviously every story that you've read or viewed a TV show or a video of somebody that's done amazing stuff, you're almost always going to find this theme of persistence, right? It's the Rocky, concept. Rocky Balboa, for any of you who don't know, the Rocky movies. Being knocked down and getting back up. It's about how much are you willing to absorb? How much are you willing to push? How much drive? How much desire? How much do you care to push through even when things are hard? So persistence, you can even call it drive. Persistence is this thing, this unstoppable component of you that you can cultivate where you just say, I don't care what happens, I'm going. I'm gonna go. I don't care if I get knocked down. I don't care if this doesn't work out. I don't care if I lose money on this. I don't care if I screw up. I don't care. It is one of those, again, kind of all-encompassing principles that folds into all of this stuff. So persistence is this incredibly necessary ingredient to keep you moving forward when things get ugly and when things get hard. Now, that said, I also, in the book, have a different kind of piece of the persistence puzzle. And just let me wrap this up by saying that without persistence, you won't get any of this other stuff. Because persistence feeds it. If you think about it, like habits and persistence, they're kind of like all this stuff is built, the way I've shared it with you, is built to stack on top of each other and to leverage each other and to support and push each other up. So persistence helps with all these other things that we've already talked about. But what I wanted to talk about is the persistence of that we weren't just put here to just survive. And this is this was a late addition to the book, but it's something I really like, and I really believe in. I just don't believe we were put here just to exist and get by. So I have a different view of persistence. I have the persistence of like, we're going to kick ass and we're not going to stop. But I also have the persistence of, I feel an obligation to do something special with this life, to close this gap, to find my potential, to see what I can do with my time here. Not to just survive and get by, but the persistence of reaching higher, the persistence of, I'm gonna close this gap, the persistence of, I'm gonna crush this, the persistence of, I'm gonna do something amazing with this short amount of time that I have on earth. So there's the persistence of like, I'll get back up and nothing's gonna stop me. And then there's the persistence of, this is where I'm headed and no one's gonna stop me. And I'm going to find, and there really is a distinction here. I'm going to push myself to find my very best. I'm going to push myself daily to find my specialness, my gifts, what I can give back. So there's this dual persistence. I kind of squeezed two little pieces into one chapter, but I think it's super important that we start looking past just survival. We weren't built just to survive. We were built to thrive and to add and create and bring things back to the table and help our fellow human beings and lift them up by doing our work. This persistence of like, let's go and see what we can do. Let's see how high we can reach. Let's see what we can achieve. Let's see what we can make happen with the short amount of time that we've got. So those are my 2 views on persistence. I hope they help. And these are my 10 views on what I think are the most important overriding principles, not goals, but principles, concepts, fundamentals of life that if you employ all 10 of these in the next year, man, guys, I'm telling you, you'll make some crazy good stuff happen. This stuff, none of this stuff is that complicated. None of this stuff is otherworldly. None of this stuff is some intangible, cosmic anything. It's all very practical. It's all very tangible. It's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. It's hard to keep it together, but that's why I just laid this all out, so you can keep it together and so you can revisit this video, and you can always get the book if you want something to have like as a reference point, but you can use this video for free as well. But these are tried and true fundamentals that have helped millions of people do amazing, amazing stuff, far beyond their dreams, far beyond, not their dreams, far beyond what they thought they could achieve, and then going towards bigger dreams. And that's kind of the cool thing of all this, is that as you get here, then you go, oh, maybe I can go here. And as you get here, then you go, oh, maybe I can dream a little bit bigger, go here. And your dreams just keep stacking, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So use this video and go make some badass stuff happen. And I wish you guys all the very best in this new year. I love you all. And any questions about any of this stuff, hit me up in the comments. I wanted it to be 10 minutes. Obviously, I lied to you. You guys know me. You know I can never do anything in 10 minutes of this kind of like scope. But I hope it's helpful. I love y'all, and I wish you the best. Happy New Year, guys. See ya.